Hey, this is Tiger. Welcome to my stream. Hey AJ, good evening to you. Hey CD Raider, has anyone seen the couch cushions? Again, the questions. They have not found their couch cushions. And Kara has a whole stash of them in her place. Well, tonight I'm going to enjoy a very cozy, chilly stream with one or two scenarios of the Preston Carlisle route. A route that is really beautiful. It has not many stations, but it has a lot of track, a lot of beautiful scenery and services that are or tend to be really long. So just open up with some impressions from Carlisle, what is from it you can read on the internet. The only city in Cumbria, and a very famous city since the days of the Romans about 2000 years ago. Very close to the Scottish and English border. And lots and lots of history. The most besieged town or city in England, they say. And AJ, you subscribed at tier 1 and they have subscribed for 22 months. Thank you so much for the ongoing support. Nobody is longer subscribed than you are. 22 months. This is actually really, really crazy. So, this is the entry area of the famous Carlisle Cathedral station. Look how those ticket booths are sculptured with things actually on the interior. This is done very nicely. You are set in the 80s, as you can see from the attire of people. Here on Friday, July 11th of 1986, there will be a rail tour. You only have to pay like £10 for an adult. And hearts are flowing in the chat. Here. You can see parts probably of the old city wall. What those guys are doing on the top of this car, what statement they are trying to make, is not entirely clear to me. But it looks interesting at any rate. Maybe they just caught an unfortunate spawning point here. The roof is probably not the original roof due to cost limitations. You have a buffet bar. So there are not that many stations in this DLC, but the stations that there are really sculptured greatly. Lavatories for the gents. Ring. This number 4 model railway gear, smiley. Nice, isn't it? And CD Raider says, I have a controversial opinion, but I still don't understand why children should pay less or even nothing anywhere. After all, they take up the same space and are annoying and noisy. Well, I guess the idea is to make it easier for the parents who have to put up with the children all the time and pay the costs. So it is not a thing that you do in favor of the children, but in favor of the parents who would have to pay for them otherwise. Wouldn't you think so? This is a Class 87 electric locomotive. Tap changer technology, even before thyristor switches came into use. And it has a sculptured engine drum. Those are the things that you can count on just trains for, just as you can count on things like this in a TSG generated DLC. Locomotive has an engine room, and you can walk inside to the other cab, but I always really enjoy if you have to change ends. Here are the fuses, and it has hidden, if we need it later, the DSD circuit breaker, what is not entirely captioned correctly because it is a DVD, and this is obviously not that disc player here, but the driver's vigilance device, what is said here, in case you look for it. Those are the switches to cut out traction motors. Here's the battery switch to turn that thing on before it gets the pantograph up. And here is lavatory on the locomotive even. What this machine here actually does is not entirely clear for me. But maybe we find it out at some point in time. See, there is as well, then adults should pay less, because they have to be there. So did you have a run-in with a kid today on your subway train? Robert the Bruce. Intercity livery for this locomotive. We will get back to this later. Before we get to driving the 87, we will be driving a 47 to rescue an 87. As he did, I know he was referring to the poster, because actually on the poster there was a discounted price for the children. So, no, I did not want to go to the journey. I wanted to pick a scenario and see how long those scenarios are here. Those are the scenarios that come from the military cargo line number 3. A DLC that we played on Thursday. Almost 2 hours. 2 hours. Here a southbound liner, 2 hours 25. I already played this. It is a really nice scenario. You have to get your freight train into a siding and out again, and it is really on the verge of what you can move with an 87 locomotive. And Broken Down is probably what I want to play with you. Yes, it is correct. In the DLC, Preston Carlisle, and I have to disclose to you that I got the key for free from Dovetail Games by virtue of being an ambassador. This is all I got from them, and my opinion is always as unfiltered as you are used to. So Broken Down, we will get to cold starter 47 in the yard. Kingmoor Yard, what was meant to be the greatest, largest marshalling yard in Europe at some point in time, 1960, but I'm not entirely sure if it ever got to be, or if Dr. Beechan cut it before that was happening. So what would I say? Today you're the standby driver at Kingmoor TMD. Speak to the foreman for information on today's job. And this funny guy here with a straw hat seems to be our foreman. Morning, a Glasgow-bound service has failed at Penrith, and I need you to take the 47 to rescue it. And of course we'll get straight on it. So here's the Kingmoor shunter, the Gronk in a very weathered livery. First set the hand points and set the tail lights. Okay. So we're really supposed to set the hand points, and we have to walk all the way over here. This seems to be okay. This point needs to be set for us. To go to our locomotive. Those points seem to be okay. Let's run it. Somebody running over me? No. Luckily not. Those points need to be set. Those points are set. And these points need to be set again. And we can see that we are inside a limit 5 yard. Then the points are straight ahead. And is that still a point that I have to set? At any rate, it is proper from what I can see. So let's go back to our train. And City Raider said today he returned from a trip to Moravia. Things got a little complicated and we were stuck in Brno due to a breakdown. And then a 47 came and rescued you. Is that so? Moravia. I stumbled across that when I was checking out what train you actually put on our Discord server. This BMU, the battery-powered electric multiple unit. So, which of our locomotives are we actually supposed to take? The one with the black headcode box, I think. It runs in Ostrava. Moravia, that is like in the south of the Czech Republic, right? Or am I... Set the battery isolation switch for closed. Battery isolation switch is closed. Set the tail lights to left. The tail lights are here. Right hand side, left hand side. Change caps. Alright, we can do this. What I don't know actually is why this locomotive, the 47, has a battery isolation switch on both ends. How can the battery be isolated on one end and not on the other? Because you can see here's another isolation switch that is open now. Are there two batteries? Or is it enough to close one? Set the master key to 1. Now we can do. So to be even more precise, I was in Moravia and Silesia. Once I know where those places are, he's adding another riddle to it. Reverse it to engine only, because we have to start up our locomotive. So that is more or less an old fancy word for idle. Press the engine start button, that is here. And it is running. Straight brake to hold the train in place. And set the driver brake to running. Headlight on. Got the marker light on. Should always go check if our lighting is proper. Lighting looks proper from this end. Stop here. And our red light on the left side is on. We can sit down. Is our parking brake? It is still applied. We should release it. Set the reverser to forward. 3 basic unofficial Czech regions. He says something like East and West Germany. Each region has its own accent and traditions. Oh yeah. Forward. Straight brake to 0, obviously. And then let's kick the bricks. Check the points once more. Okay, I think I did what I could do. But I'm already speeding. I only had the throttle on while I was doing this. But 5 miles is so slow. At least I can use the loco brake here. But Moravia has its own railway company, right? A separate entity from Český dráhy. No? So what was it that I read about it then? In connection with this BMO that you posted. Being sent on the goods line, that is okay. We don't know how fast we can go beyond this point. 15 as it looks. Radar says GD, RegioJet, Arriva, Leo Express operate in the whole country. Well, I have to get back to this after the stream. I think when I read where all these trains were delivered to, there was something mentioned of Moravia. Guys, let me check something quickly. Alright, I'm back. So, I forgot to turn on the AWS as it seems. Anyway. Unisolated. And here we are. Yep, and now it has enough power. Just had to make sure that the girls are okay, because I thought I heard something fall over. Aha. How fast are we allowed on the switch? 20, I think. Position 1. This is the 100 from the opposite side. will not happen before. Or 001 for us. Actually, we can go a bit faster, but... River Eden? No? Am I mistaken here? Now we're on the switch. Johnny Caput 22, nice to see you in the chat. A very good evening to you. Carlisle Castle here to the left. Some people claim this is the original seat of King Arthur, Camelot. Highly doubt that. But still a very important castle. One of the castles Mary Queen of Scots was imprisoned at some time in the 16th century. How fast can we go here? 60 until we get to another 20, so there's no point in accelerating too much. That's the Cathedral, Carlisle Cathedral. Decorated Gothic style. So the scenery is really beautifully sculptured. But now let's actually rescue our train. See how far it is, and now we are already in the 20 again. Stop at location, Harrisons Sidings south, reverse in 25 miles. That means we actually can accelerate as soon as we are out of the 20 limit for the station. Still learning the route where the speed changing points are, because with those old British speed signs it is a bit difficult. Not to miss them. Carpet wrong. Carlisle is a really important railway node, connecting lines from obviously Preston and Glasgow for the West Coast main line. Also a line from Newcastle coming from the east. So now we should be out. And we can put the foot down a bit. At some point in its history it was home to not less than 7 different railway lines. Looks actually as if both tail lights are on. So soon enough we are in the 90. Not yet though. Or maybe we are actually limited to the 75 because we are a light running engine. It's also possible. Sometimes the game has some interesting insights to speed limits, and yeah, it is so. Can't go faster than 75 as a light running engine here, even though the line speed is higher. But this means we do not really have to pay too much attention for the incoming speed limits to 80, since it won't be applicable to us anyway. Passing the motorway and the cows on the pastures. This is the beautiful landscape that we missed on Thursday when we were running through the heavy rain. Perny, hey, nice to see you in the chat. Are you still interrailing or are you back at home already? Still railing in Austria at the moment. How nice. I hope the Austrians are treating you well. The weather certainly isn't, well, yeah, I can feel you. Privately, I am quite happy that we have the rain, so that there can something grow on the fields and meadows. But this morning I got in some heavy rain and storm myself. Beautiful Cumberland landscape. Where in Germany do you live, he asks. In northern Bavaria. This is where we are located. Wait, is it like actually raining everywhere then? That's quite far away. Well, there are a lot of rain bands traveling across. So I guess if it's not the same rain, then it's a different one. But for the last few days, the rainy patches have been traveling across. What's up with the includes paid promotion, by the way? Well, this is because I'm getting DLC keys for free now, being an ambassador for DTG. And this is why I click the box for includes paid promotion. I cannot differentiate. No, I don't get paid to stream. I don't get paid a cent from DTG or anyone else. Obviously I'm getting a couple of cents from YouTube and Twitch for your subscriptions and the ads that are shown with the videos sometimes, but from DTG I'm not getting paid. But I get the DLC keys for free, and this qualifies, in my opinion, as getting something for streaming. Thank you so much. Nah, I wouldn't want to be paid for streaming, because then I actually have to do it. Then I'd be obliged to say something nice maybe, or don't say something that I like to say. So no. And I also have to say, nobody ever tried. Here's a few more cents, 100 bits. Thank you so much, Perny. You are always nice, says CD Raider. Well, I try to be nice, as I said, as long as there is no reason not to. Guess you can find a couple of people who would strongly oppose the opinion that I'm always nice. But as long as there's no reason not to be, I try to be nice, yes. Because that is an attitude, in my opinion, that is, well, not lived enough, especially in the online world. But about the DLCs and whether I like it or not, so I can say it in a nice way if I don't like it, if I would not invest money in it. And for example, this DLC. The thing with this DLC is you actually have a huge amount of track, and the services are really long, like 90 minutes, 2 hours. And I personally really enjoy those long services. But if someone says, well, I can't invest 2 hours to just have a quick run with the engines, and I should say, well, this probably is not the DLC that you should go for. But look at this landscaping. And it's actually quite a dynamic landscaping. So if we are on the other side of Shap Summit, it looks completely different again. Vanguard 25, I wish we could save multiple rides at the same time. I don't have time or motivation to run 2 hours at once. That's true. Well, I'm quite happy actually that the save game feature works reliably enough so that you can save one service and complete it when you have time again. With the 87 there are some caveats to that. Caveats to that. Sometimes you lose your power or can't release your brakes anymore. But so far I have always been able to fix it again. And if you want to save multiple rides, it was possible, I don't know if it is still is, to just move the save file to a different location. Would have to check this out if this still works. Seems like a feature for Trains in World 6. If I can move the save file myself, no reason the game can manage it for me. Well, I can remember that on the Trains in World 2 there were some scenarios prepared in a way that you would import save files. But at that time, loading from the or reloading from the save file was so unreliable that you almost never were able to finish a service or a scenario after reloading it. That has improved a lot. So this is Penrith, right? Penrith. Also a very important castle ruin here to the left. Radar says, I just figured out that my Steam screenshots are actually public. Yeah, if you public it under this Railfan view thingy or whatever it is called. I had this realization a couple of weeks ago. Perny says, does Trains in World have any other border crossings than Germany, Austria? I don't think so. If you discount state crossings in the United States. Well, technically you have a border crossing in the Bernina line because it ends in Italy, but you don't see anything of it because even though the station and the installations of the railway line are in Italy, it follows Swiss rules completely because there is no connection to the normal gauge network in Italy. And CD Radar says he was surprised when someone randomly commented on it. Yeah, I hope it was a nice comment then. That's boring that we don't have more border crossings. Well, actually there is not so much. There are not that many possibilities to have border crossings, because from the bordering countries to Germany, for example, we only have Austria in the game so far, Switzerland, so Switzerland would be possible, but with the SNCF with the SBB licensing at the moment, I don't think we will be seeing much Swiss content at the moment. Maybe a Dutch-German border crossing. Could be possible in the near future. Arnhem-Duisburg, for example, yeah, for example. Venlo-Düsseldorf via Mönchengladbach. That sounds reasonable. Sounds like a case to add Denmark. Yes, why not? Could have sub 123 then. If it is 123, some number around this. Right, someone wanted to ask some questions. I don't know why they didn't ask straight away, but I've ignored it for now because you can't reply to comments there. Oh, I see. Well, that used to be weird. Well, they must be kinda hard to program, yeah. But not impossible. And while we're at it, why not add Finland too? I'd be totally up for it. I can't have enough new signaling systems, safety systems, operating rules. So we're still getting high greens, but we're getting closer to our spot where we have to turn around. Harrisons Sidings south reverse. It sounds like we're going into some piece of track off the main line. Euro Train Simulator. Well, let's not forget the American content in Train Sim World and the Japanese content. I think the American content has been neglected not only on my stream but also in the DLCs that we got so far in the last few months. International Train Simulator 6. Nordic Train Simulator, says Perny. Well, I guess in Sweden and Norway there are some interesting patches of railway. Iceland does not have any railway, has it? I don't know. Never heard of it at any rate. Vanguard. I think the Dutch content was received so well, it's pretty certain they would work on more in that country. Yeah, I think so. And this might actually call for a border crossing with Germany. From Oldenburg it is not really far to Groningen anyway. Vatican City, says CD Radar. Do they have a subway station at the Vatican? They have a railway station actually. I didn't know that either, Bernie. They have buses, he says. Maybe we should turn off the throttle if we're starting to brake. Double yellow. Looks a bit like our train that we have to rescue. With a pretty intercity class 87. Panto's still up. Perny says he's coming to Prague. Single yellow. In a couple of days he says, Ronnie, more tractor sounding trains. Well, in the second half at any rate we will have the wonderful sound of a pre-thyristor cap-changing electric locomotive. But at the moment our tractor locomotive has to rescue the 87. Change cabs here so that you can couple up to the front of the broken down service. Alright. That means we have to... Alright, they are guiding us. Taillights left. Reverse to off. They want the driver's brake in shutdown. That means we have to probably pull the pin first. This is sometimes a bit weird here. Because sometimes it does not want to go in shutdown and I don't have a pin. Now it works. To wait for the brake pipe to drain completely properly. And we can set the straight brake back to 0. Master key to off. Cap change over lever to off. So that we can change over properly. And now since we cannot go through the engine room, we have to walk around Highland Rail, isn't that sweet? Master key. Driver's brake to initial application. Taillights to off. Turn the high intensity headlamp and the markers on. Right. Reverse it to forward. Driver's brake to running. Power. So, how fast are we on the switch? 10 or 5? 10-ish. 10 more like. Vanguard, how to enable train length indicator on Vectron? What key binding, and do other trains have this feature? No, this feature is unique to the Vectron, and it is a double on the Vectron it is actually Shift A or Shift D, I think, for the train length counter. On the Taurus or the Baureihe 182, it is a double tap on A or D. Shift and double A, is it really double? Well, probably. On the Taurus it is, yeah, control is for acknowledging. Did I go the wrong way now? Because it looks, no, we're actually supposed to sit in front of it. So we are supposed to overtake the train. Well then, let's do that. And we're still on 10. Limited to 10, because it is a siding here. Double A, definitely. Yes, on the Taurus it is just a double A, and on the Vectron it is Shift double A. Okay, our signal is yellow, allowing us to pass. It seems like it's a bit of a complicated maneuver that we are doing here. Apparently they did not want us to run up to this train on the wrong track. So this is why we did a full runaround. First passing the train on the left, and then going back on the right to end up in front of this little shunting signal to the left. So, change ends again and slowly couple up to the failed train. Okay, they want us to change ends. That means we have to get the brakes empty again. Left hand side. Lights. Plug, plug, plug. Reverse off. Shut down. Released. Master key. change ends lever and to the other end. How do drivers on other trains do this? They count seconds in their head roughly based on length and speed, asks one guard. CD Raider says, I don't know about locomotives in the world, but most trains have this computer, they just aren't represented in the game. And Ronnie says, I can only speak for Germany. The hectometer boards are the same as in your schedule, and because you know how long your train is, you know after how many hectometer boards you're allowed to accelerate. Yeah, I guess the official thing is the hectometer boards. Master key, forward, light, light, light. They want to do it with the initial application, not with a straight brake. Tail lights off. Alright, I can do that. Set the driver's brake to running. Do we have already a clear? Proceed at restricted speed. This is one of the situations where the signal is actually showing you a stop aspect, but you are allowed to go anyway. Now we have two views on the matters here. And both are correct. So, since there are passengers in this train, we have to stop in front of it before coupling. Let's make sure that everything is okay. Always duck underneath, even if they are not touching, so that if they are actually moving, you don't get quashed between the buffers. Okay, and then let's try to couple. Aufdrücken. Had to have some brakes and never know what the status of the brake pipe on the other train is. Don't want it to roll away. It all depends on whether you entered the train length correctly into your computer, says the area. Shut down this cap, ensure the trail lights are off on the class 87 and then change ends. Alright. Let's check. The Tail lights are somewhere around here. Tail light switch is off. On the 87. And we have to shut down this cap here. Don't need any tail lights now. Off 100%. When we actually go into emergency. This is off anyway. Master key can be switched off. Shut down. Changeover lever. And I think this cap is good. At the moment the train brake should hold our consist in place. Changeover lever. Self-test. Lights. Tail lights off. Initial application in case the straight brake is not enough. And the high vis. Well, the high vis is still on at the other end. The high visibility lamp. Blip, 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 blip. Set the driver's brake to initial application. That is where we are. That's everything set up. Drag the formation to Penrith and onto Carlisle, where a replacement loco will take over. Alright. Forward. Still off. Straight brake to 0. Okay, signal, we can go. And now let's see if we can get this thing moving. What speed are they giving us here? It is still the 90 and then the 80 for Penrith. Any % speed run? Well, you know quite well that I am not for speed runs. Probably I did not close my window on the other end. I would actually love those scenarios without all this step-by-step being guided through the controls. This is what I love in some of the SimRail scenarios, where it just says, well, set up your loco. Or change ends. And then if you miss something, it just doesn't go on. Maybe we should have lowered the pantograph on the 87 that we are towing. Hope it doesn't rain, he says. Exactly, especially when the game asks you to close, to do those steps incorrectly, yeah. Well, I asked the signaller whether we can stop in Penrith and lower the pantograph. Because that sounds, or that is, in my opinion, a quite dangerous thing to do. Or maybe they want the pantograph up so that the passengers can have their commodities still. They want us to carry it with the panto up, so we do it. We tow it with the panto up. At least until we get to Penrith. Now we should actually get an increased speed limit of 100. Yep. 95 at any rate. Looked like 100, but those things are rushing by so fast. You can never know. But for Penrith we have to slow down again. We have to stop there anyway. Yeah, that gives us some sway. Boing boing. $75 incoming actually. This is the era with almost no morpeth boards. It's like a slowdown from 95 to 75. It's probably not announced here. That was a different thing. Not the 75 yet. Well, we have to stop in 1.4 miles anyway. So we should probably shave off some speed. Banner repeater was open. The off indicator is actually working. So come on, train. Go to your stopping position. Unlock doors, so we are actually doing passenger operations. But this allows me to try break that thing by lowering this pantograph. This is actually irritating myself. I want this panto lowered. Let's see if it breaks our scenario. Does that work even if the train is not up? I think this counts as lowered. Not really. Not really. Probably would have to activate the locomotive before it listens, but you need to switch the master key to on to lower the panto. Yeah, probably you are right. We'll check this out in the end if we can. 75 to 110. The shift P, I can check. No. I thought like an emergency panto down button should work without the cab being activated. But this one is maybe not a button of that kind. And I did not want to activate the locomotive so that I do not confuse the system that keeps track of what is the active service and what is not. Yes, 110. Same time. An APC. Oh. Or is it an APC? Got to rewatch my own video about the AC electrification signals. It's weird that they had the front panto up anyway, right? Actually, this locomotive cannot go 110. 95 is max. So this is, yeah, actually represented. Nice. Kara, what's up with you? What you dreaming about? Well, but even if we wanted to, we couldn't go 95. Now it's going downhill. Maybe now we're getting closer to the 95. Only 8.5 miles to Carlisle. But the station speed limit is not incoming yet. What about some other video games? You want me to play some other video games? Something else but train sim? That's mainly AJ's domain. Oh. There is some limit that I did not notice actually. 8590. Yeah, I mean some city rapid transit, I think maybe some subway sim. Which would you say on that? Well, why not? City rapid transit. We can always try. That is close enough. Communications-based train control, that's true. On what simulator is this implemented? The CPTC, for example. $75.13. Here was the Morpeth for the 20 already. Yeah, but this gives us almost 2 miles to slow down properly. Or if you try back in service Pragmator, you could discuss ARS, the old Soviet safety system. So this game is called Back in Service. Is it on Steam? Do I get sources that I understand about this system? It's actually a nice idea. It is set to the 70s and 80s. Well, I'm always happy to discuss new and different signaling and safety systems. You should check out a Railbound, he says. Puzzle game on Steam where you have to lay track to get train from A to B. Very funny. Alright. Railbound, I think I don't. I don't remember seeing that. And there is rail route on Steam, which puts you in the traffic dispatch route where you dispatch trains and lay new route and develop your network while managing delays and such. Oh yeah, this one I had my eyes on already. Taught me that being a good train dispatcher is actually quite hard. Yeah, I totally believe that. But that means I have to dig deep into the dispatching angle. In the last couple of weeks, the new releases for Trains from World actually kept me busy quite a lot. But you're right, guys. Always good to have an open mind and look at more possibilities than we can do. You start off easy, but very quickly you'll run into traffic issues. Says Vanguard. I totally believe that. So, we managed to get our train back to Carlisle. For a moment I thought I hit the wrong button, but it wasn't us honking the horn. Detach the loco from the foundation and return them. Oh, both locos. From the formation, most probably, not foundation where I sit. We have to get our locomotive in the yard so that it can be fixed. What did I do? Switch the sign or something. So instead of tail lamp. Whoops! Actually bounced out of the suspension. Set the tail lights on the 87. And you guys still want us to have the panto up? With this loco, sure. They want... They are adamant about it even. Doesn't come down even with the master switch off. Does it even have the battery on? Doesn't have a... It has the battery insulated, but the panto up. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Well, they have to figure it out. It's not going to the yard for nothing. Puma. City Radar. So we're supposed to go to the left for 20. And here it is. For once I can actually see the sign properly. Still slower? No, we can actually be faster from this point. 30. Even if we go across the switch. Yeah, well, this is where we came from. And this is where we're going again. There's a red signal up ahead. But it has the subsidiary lights on, hasn't it? Here we may pass with restricted speed. Sending to D or depot maybe. We can make easily, but it will be slower still. 20 and then 5 as it seems. 15 more like across the switch at any rate. And 5 here. I wonder if they set our switches correctly. Looks good. You might remember this is where we started out today. The area to the left with those yellow and black chevrons. Those 5 miles per hour stretches are so difficult. Well, let's get our Sir Francis Drake home. Not going through the wash. We're not going through the refueling part. Look, 87, how nicely you can pull trains here if you're not broken. Easy does it. $165 yards to go. And then we're probably reversing our Sir Francis Drake into the workshop siding somewhere around here. Yeah, we can go 15 again for the last 20 yards. Probably we won't. So now we're reversing. Check the switches. We're going into the workshop sidings. Reverse. Probably a job for Hank to sit in the 87 now. Or maybe we have to put our head out of the window and see where we are going. Did we end up in the correct one? Yeah, looks quite nice. So, which end of our train needs to be in the objective marker? At any rate, we should not run against the closed door. About that, ensure the hand points are set for the correct line, where you should tell us where we are supposed to go. There? Let's first uncouple. This actually sounds a bit weird because we can't really go through the building, right? So probably we'll have to go around. We should maybe put the brake to full so that the other locomotive does not run away if it is alone. Uncouple, set the taillights to left through now that we are alone. That's actually quite nice that they are paying attention to things like this. We need the taillight on this loco on again. And now we're going to where we were. Points are still set. If nobody else went there. And change them. Okay, should have waited until the brakes actually released. I have a feeling we have to do the run around the workshop building with this locomotive again through the 5 miles section. And now we go to a different spot, so maybe we don't have to put it back all the way into our original position. We're just reversing it there. Hank will guide us. So we are maybe stopping in the train wash. Or at the refueling station, also possible. So, are we getting some fuel? Well, this refueling station actually looks dirty. Well, we're not getting fuel, we're not getting a wash, we're just stopping in between. Well done, let's see how you've done. End of the scenario, as it seems. Well, that's it. A lot of speeding. At least no hard impact. And that was this scenario. Quite a long one, almost 2 hours. But a nice one, I liked it. With a bit more focus. I like that they always insisted on turning on and off the tail lights. The thing with the pantograph should be investigated, whether we can actually do this. Towing around the locomotive with the panto up. At any rate, I think that was the stream for today. It's already almost 2 hours in, so it is fair to call it a day. Guys, as long as you are still here and you're listening to me, I wish you a very nice week. Thanks for the stream. Have a good week, says Vanguard. So have you, my friend. Be nice to each other. Take care. And let's meet again. CD Radar, yes, thank you for the tiger. For pop. Emoji. Guys, take care and see you soon.